It's Saturday, November 3rd, 2029, and the Sacramento Athletics are 80 and 82, crawling back from being 10 games under 500 to only two. We had a spectacular month of August, winning 11 games in a row in the middle of that month. It was broken up in a series against San Francisco, and then we had a rough month of September, going 12 and 15, 0 and 1 in October. The offense got a little bit worse after the deadline, but the pitching got better, and that's why we stabilized and we're closer to our Pythagorean expected record than before. I'm a little frustrated because Pat Brasseur is out for the next 9 to 10 months with a torn elbow ligament. He was our top prospect, really, um, and pitched fairly well in his first exposure to the major leagues. JP Sears, also suffered a season-ending injury on the same day as Brasseur. He tore his labrum, so I cut him. I would have brought him back, but at 33, I just don't. I think his arm's going to fall off probably. He did pitch well for us in both AAA and the majors. So a shame for those two guys, and for the rest of the team, there was a cool down effect. Denzel Clark, though, 3.4 WAR, our most valuable offensive player, 95 OPS plus, and the BABIP was still pretty low, so he probably could have been even better. But the power, 18 homers, almost to his age 26 mark of 19 a few years ago. Daniel Suzak, 2.8 WAR in only 122 games, 114 OPS plus. We're getting towards a crunch with these catchers, and with him in arbitration, we'll see if we move on from him. I will move on to that in a moment. Manuel Pena, this is who he is, a league average hitter. He was hurt for the last couple weeks of the season, came back. League average hitter, good defense at second base. Bobby Hunter was up and down, could never really put that great offense on display for more than a month. Here in August, he won a Player of the Week award, but then in September cooled down. One at bat and one home run, though, in October with an 1,183 OPS plus. But Hunter, he's a piece for the future, and I really enjoyed having him on the team this season. Great trade for us. Henry Bolte finished with 33 homers, but the last half of the year was not kind to him. In July, a 45 OPS plus, 98 in August, 72 in September for Henry Bolte. So, not a strong close of the year after his second All-Star nod, but still a league average starter. Nasim Nunez also rebounded after I moved him to shortstop. He finished with a 12 zone rating there, as you saw. Even if the offense wasn't great, he was still a league average starter at shortstop, which is a fairly valuable thing. Austin Charles did cool off with the bat, but given that he was given more plate appearances, he filled out the WAR and was a great backup as a right-handed infielder. So he'll be back for next season. I believe he still has an option year left, yes. Lawrence Butler also cooled off to end the year. He's a guy I think we're definitely going to trade just because I'm not going to pay him $10 million. We cannot afford that. He cooled off a bit in August. He flip-flopped months a lot this year, and he had a great run with us, but time for us to move on once I show you the budget situation. Aaron Bracco, another platoon guy. He's got really harsh splits, and once we brought in Jace Young, he didn't really have a spot on the everyday lineup against righties. I don't know. I really do like him, and he'll stick around. He has options, and he's on the minimum, so he's a very good piece to have. Jace Young was on fire in August. 155 OPS plus in the major leagues. Let me switch all to major leagues. Great in July, too, in a very limited sample. And then September, he stunk. And that kind of neutralized what he did in August. So he was about a league average hitter this season in 208 plate appearances. He's on the minimum, though, as well. Doesn't have option years left, but this skill set is too good to pass up. And I was surprised seeing his career in the major leagues. He had all these years in Detroit and Cleveland where he just hit the cover off the ball, but he was never given a full-time opportunity, and he's going to have the chance to earn that for the first time in his career at age 29 here in Sacramento. Braden Montgomery kept going. 15 bombs in a little under 50 less plate appearances for us, 50 fewer plate appearances for us, 129 OPS plus. He's going to be a guy that helps to replace Lawrence Butler. Very happy to have acquired him. He is fragile though, but who isn't these days? Detmers for Detroit was terrible, so it ended up a good trade for us. And we also picked up Young in that trade. Or no, that was in the Frelick trade. So Frelick, I was thinking Young was still a Tiger. Frelick was even worse in Cleveland, so happy about that trade. Pick up Young, 2 minor leaguers, whatever. Ronald Hernandez ended the season in AAA after kind of falling off to a 70 OPS plus. Most likely moving on from him, I'll try and trade him with the catchers we have. And the development of Tim McFarland, who finished his year in AAA. I mean, look at this between Double and AAA. Like, he's a quality first baseman. He's a lefty, a decent catcher. We're going to have some tough decisions to make at that position, but an opportunity to create some surplus value. Victor Acosta had 253 plate appearances, which is much more than I thought, but he got a good chunk of time when Pena was hurt and after September call-ups. He's such a good defender, but now in his last option year, I probably am going to move on from him because he's fragile. We got to look for some trades. Connor Griffin came back, did not play a game. These 2 games were in March, but he's still a hell of a player. I mean, he's going to come right in. We have too many righties right now, so that also might be something. There's going to be a big churn on offense, just because we need to stabilize the roster and have the right amount of lefties, the right amount of righties, the right amount of outfielders, infielders. But he's going to be a starter, and it stinks that he got a full year of service being out the whole year. But that's how it goes. Hedberg Perez came back up. He's a captain, so I don't know if I'm going to DFA him, but I might. Just because I don't, he's kind of an all-out power guy. But the avoid case being 50 is nice. That means he's not just going to strike out 41% of the time like he did with us, but more in line with this 15 to 20% number that he had in the minor leagues. But he's hit everywhere in the minor leagues, so I'd have a tough time getting rid of him. I mean, look, ever since 2024, he has hit every single stop and has not been a below-average hitter anywhere. Armando Cruz came up, had 9 games with us. I think this was earlier in the year, though. Struggled in AAA. I won't move on from him, though, because he had a low BABIP in AAA that's much lower than his career number, so I think that there's still something in the tank for him. And with Nunez kind of struggling, Cruz isn't as good of a shortstop, which is unfortunate, but Nunez, being in arbitration, might be able to save a little money. Alfredo Duno also hit the cover off the ball in AAA. We have the best group of catchers, I think, in minor league baseball, at least in the high minors. These guys were great, and they're great catchers too, not just hitters. Duno, though, might be another guy we think about moving on from, just because I don't know if I like that profile as much in comparison to who else we have. Gregory Barrios staying on the 40-man roster after struggling a little bit in the majors and in AAA, just because he's still a great defender. He can steal bags. And the 60-eye is a big deal because unlike Cruz, who has a 50-eye, the 60-eye really takes it up a notch here for Barrios. And he's got options too. So we still have flexibility. Jacob Cozart came up and was our backup catcher. I'm going to move on from him for sure just because of who we have. He's a lefty. Got to make valuable trades with these guys. But he's the last guy on the 40-man roster. On the lineup side, on the pitching side, Mitch Spence, our most valuable pitcher this season, 3.76 FIP. But Wilkerman Gonzalez came on in 58 innings and was amazing. 2.79 ERA. Did have the lowest allowed BABIP in Major League Baseball. So it could be an aberration, but he doesn't want that much in arbitration, and we're going to bring him back because we need the arms. But very happy about this Wilkerman Gonzalez addition. Miguel Vargas for the Angels stunk in their playoff push. I don't think they made the playoffs. They were in position. Yeah, they were with the Rangers and the Mariners, but just fell off towards the end of the year, and we almost jumped them for a playoff spot. They went 8-19 in September, so a big collapse for the Angels. Miguel Vargas a part of that, unfortunately. But fortunately for us, we moved on from him and picked up 2 nice arms. Brandon Barrera, the other one, had 13 1/3 innings of work as a reliever. Next up, Emerson Hancock, now in arbitration, but with this movement in control, he'll probably stick around. He's listed as a starter right now. I like him better as a reliever, as a very extreme ground ball reliever. 123 and two-thirds innings, though. It's not something to scoff at. He's provided us value ever since coming over from Seattle in the trade for Jason Vossler, who's since retired. Luis Sandoval and Tyro Estrada there as well. Sandoval do anything in the bigs this year? No, he still has not been promoted. So Hancock been a big addition. Yonadan, 31-year-old starter reliever hybrid. I might think about bringing him back if it's cheap. We'll have to see here. No, 7.5. I can't afford that. Sorry. So Adon will be gone. Cody Funderburk will be back in arbitration. Like I said, the best season of his career at age 32. One of our top lefties, if not the top lefty, started the most, or I guess appeared in the most games in Major League Baseball this season with 80. Very heavy workload for Funderburk, but he rewarded us. Jesus Garindo will be another arbitration decision, especially with Brasseur being lost to injury. I wanted him to take Garindo's spot. We'll see. He fell off a bit, and he's fragile. So, but it still is a 70 grade cutter. He's always been an interesting player, and he's managed to stick around despite not being a guy who sets the world on fire. Christopher Sanchez, another veteran who I wish I could bring back, and maybe I gotta free up some money first, but he's a good lefty reliever, and if he wants under $2 million, we'll probably bring him back. He's only 32. Reggie Crawford, 46 innings for us, wasn't spectacular. I'll see about him. One option year left though does change the equation for Crawford. Jorge Marcheco, 2.75 ERA and 68 and two-thirds innings pitched. Kind of a long man, only 40 games. He's an all-star, still in the minimum. No options left, though, for Marcheco, but happy to have him. Joey Estes, 3.18 ERA, 85 innings. Another long man type guy. We had some bulk guys in the bullpen that were pretty valuable. Barrera I talked about. Iriarte didn't pitch in the bigs this season. He struggled FIP-wise in AAA, so I'll think about waiving him, to be honest. He has no options left, and he's never really been able to put it together at the big league level. And pitchers are easy to come by. Like, guys, we have a lot of guys who lack control, and that's a big rating in this year's game, so I think we'll be moving on from Iriarte. Yadiel Bautista didn't have the same success for us that he did in Toronto. I don't know. We'll see about him, too. He still has an option year left, though, and can be a starter. Cole Mathis finally got his call up to the bigs. 3 games played, 3 innings, 6 ERA. Still think he's a valuable reliever to have, given his ability to play two ways a bit. And I just like him. I saw him in person, like I said a few videos ago. Like him to stick around. He was our first homegrown player to make the 40-man roster, but I believe the third to appear in a game. Bishop Letson was one of the best pitchers in AAA last season, or I guess this season. But when he came up for us, he wasn't too good. Though he still can be a decent starter, so I'll keep him on the 40-man roster, and he's a spark plug. Nick Frasso did not finish the season well, 5.38 FIP. I'm probably going to move on from him. He wants about $1.5 million, and his stunk for us. Like, he's never been good, and we're so up against it that I need to save that kind of money at this point. So Frasso, the last on our roster. Now we can look at these salaries. So we were actually given two fewer $1 million to fill out the team this year, which is frustrating. I'm supposed to get $140 million. They've been telling me that for 5 years. It's not going to happen. We've turned a profit every single year. I've tried to do that. I'm not maxing out the budget because we're not a push it all towards the table type of team right now. But it's hard. So Lawrence Butler will be the first casualty. He wants $8.5 million, and I just don't think he's worth that. Next up, Denzel Clark. No, I got to keep him. I don't have another center fielder lined up. Henry Bolte, another guy that I'm thinking about, but I don't know. Garindo also might be part of that equation, and Suzak. Like, it might just be a situation where, I'm saving $5 million, but then I invest $3 million into another starting pitcher that's about the same as Garindo, but you're saving the $2 million to fill out the rest of the roster. It's going to be hard, I think. Suzak might be another guy, save $5 million and go with the minimum players. Frasso's going to be gone. We're going to have to make some cuts off the 40 man. Like, this sucks. But that's the way the A's are run. We only have $225,000 available. And I mean, I could manufacture some more money here. Actually, they already did. They took away $15 million from the player development budget. That's how much money we've lost, and half the scouting budget. So we got some work to do to save some money here with a core that wants money in arbitration, but one that has not won anything yet. We still, I mean, this is the second out of 3 years that we finished 80 and 82, and the year prior we finished 80, 81 and 81. It's the best season we've had in the sim by Pythagorean expectations, 82 wins. So we're still trending up. We have yet to backslide since this 75 win 2025 turned into 67. Still no playoff appearances, though. None for the A's since the expanded 2020 playoffs. It's just frustrating. And now the farm system took a hit because Mallard and Emerson fell off the top 100. Tim McFarland, though, is a player. But Joe Little, he's fantastic. He was the most valuable player in the... what league is this? He played for the Trenton Thunder, so the draft league. Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to figure it all out pretty soon, because I think I'm going to hardline say 10 years for the World Series or bust. If we don't win the World Series at the end of 10 years, I'll simulate the careers of the players we have and see if the next GM after me was able to put something together. But that's my hard limit right now, is 10 years on this simulation. If we don't win a World Series, it's over. If we do, it's over. So that's 6 years in the books. So let's do a little exercise in who's staying, who's going, and what we'll have to replace. So if we keep Gurindo, Adon is gone. Spence is eligible for arbitration. We'll bring him back because of how good he was this year. So I foresee us having to add another 3 starting pitchers to be comfortable, which stinks. I don't know if we'll have any money to be able to invest in the bullpen. It'll just kind of have to be what it is with the guys we have. And then on the lineup side, so call it 3 starters and 2 arms in the bullpen. So 5 pitchers we want to add. And then on the lineup side, with how many we're so righty heavy now, if we're going to move on from Lawrence Butler, which makes me think maybe we trade Bolte. I know it's not something I want to do, but with the composition of the team and how he just finished the year and what seems to be the aberration in his career last season, might have to trade him with Griffin coming up and Clark. So that's the trade-off we have to make. Is it Bolte or is it Butler? We can only pick one. And Butler's still the better overall hitter. Nunez at shortstop is a question mark, but I that's too risky to get rid of him right now. These middle infield guys we'll have to move on from. But then the bonus is that almost everybody that I'm scrolling over right now is on the minimum, if not everybody. Which actually, yeah, I'm pretty sure every single person here is on the minimum, which is good for our cost control. And then catcher, if we move on from Suzak, the other kid isn't even on the roster. So then maybe Duno's the backup. So we go Duno. Yeah, okay. So I think we're gonna try and move on from Cozart, and we're gonna try and move on from Suzak, unfortunately. But that's the way the cookie crumbles. And then Acosta, I want to DFA for sure. And then we'll test out offers for Bolte and Butler. Hedberg Perez will stay. And then maybe one of Barrios or Cruz goes. But I'm still not sure about that yet. So that's who I'd like to look at trading. I would like to keep Ronald Hernandez. I think he's a valuable backup catcher to have. And then Tim McFarland, we have to call up. So McFarland, and we'll see how he slides in and how our manager likes him. So he's not even a platoon catcher. whatever. He will be a part of the team. And then Garindo, I want to look into trade offers for him to see if we can save some money. Who else is up for arbitration? Frasso. Funderburk will keep. That's cheap. And then Butler, Bolte, Clark, Nunez. Okay. And then in addition to that, other guys will DFA include Iriarte. And maybe one of Crawford or Bautista. I'll look at that. So we've got a fairly thick amount of players that we're going to turn over here in this offseason, but I think we have a core in place relatively in place. Better than where we have been. Connor Griffin, our best player, coming into the fold. It's a shame that Brasseur is hurt because I really could use him, but eventually you got to stomach that kind of injury eventually. And he might be close to being. I guess he's got shoulder inflammation before, so he might come back fragile, which would stink. But a guy like Emerson's close. Let's call it 2 more years until we're really competitive with these young guys. But until then, I just have to keep the churn going. So thank you for watching. We'll make the moves, come back to start the year, and move on to the next 4 years of the sim. Thank you for watching.